Okay, I'm live on YouTube and Facebook. Okay, I'm just waiting for people to turn up. You see that camera? No, good, okay. I like to get the cameras close because my big platforms are my social media ones. YouTube's my smaller one. So I'm usually looking at my other ones. So I'm trying to get the cameras close so it doesn't look like I'm ignoring YouTube, and I'm not. Okay, sorry, I was just yabbing. Anyway, while we're waiting for everyone to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. Nice, gorgeous, sunny day today. And I haven't been out there much. I've just been working all day, but that's okay. I love what I do, so not complaining. So where are you from? This is one of my regularly scheduled lives, but it's going to be focused on toddlers because I just launched my toddler bootcamp course today. So I want questions for people who've purchased the course, and etc. Tolar, Texas. I've never heard of that. That must be a small town. I've never heard of Tolar, Texas. Arizona, it's cloudy, but still very hot. Oh yeah, Nebraska. Crystal Hopper, what a cute name. I've got a client. I can't talk about their names, obviously. I got this client that's got the most gorgeous name. Just won the lotto with the names. It's absolutely gorgeous. As soon as I heard it, I thought, oh, that should be a song or something. But yes. Okay. A small town and we love it. Okay. I'm just looking it up. Tolar, Texas. Population of 941 people. Oh, it is small. So it must be like farm. Acreage, I see. Oh, so you're near Dallas, the closest one. Fort Worth, then Dallas. Oh, I didn't realize Fort Worth was so close to Dallas. Okay, interesting. Okay, welcome, Indiana. I'm a big city person. I'm very relaxed and comfortable in chaotic cities like Manhattan and that. For some reason, go figure, right? I don't want to be at a party like where I'm crowded, but I like living in a crazy city. I don't know why. It's my most relaxed time. When I go out to the country, I get agitated. Isn't that the weirdest thing? It's like what's going on? It's too quiet. Yeah, it's just bizarre how we're all built so differently. Thank God, or else we'd all be smashed into one place, wouldn't we? Okay, yes, ma'am. Oh, that would be farm. I'm assuming. Yeah, I love animals. That's one thing about farms that I would love would be animals. Okay, Ontario. Hi, Ontario. Davie, Florida. I have heard of Davie. Indiana, I already said that, I think. Okay, so let's get going with the live. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, which are now included in the big toddler bootcamp course. You can still buy them individually because you might not need all that information, but they're just an added bonus thrown into my brand new bootcamp course. It was launched this morning. It's going really well. Getting good feedback on it. But I'm just here answering questions because if you did buy the bootcamp course tomorrow, I'd love your feedback on here, find out how you're doing with that. We did a big questionnaire about what you want on that bootcamp course for the toddler one. And yeah, we got like hundreds of responses and we only opened it up for one day. So we got a lot of information put in there. Anyway, and then you can look into coaching. Oh, and I also have the original bootcamp course, 3 to 12 years old. Now that one is very different from the toddler one. The 3 to 12 years old, that is an absolute 5 weeks to get respect. It's a procedure, it's a system, it's a method. You go through each, those 5 weeks. Toddler one isn't like that. You can't plan things out with toddlers. They're going to do what they're going to do. They're brand new discovery phase, the whole discovery phase. They might go like this and smear poop on the wall. And I mean, you just can't predict what they're going to do. And they can't control themselves and you can't control them, but you can start to do things. You can start to manage some stuff. But anyway, it's sort of more of a reference material course. There's no way you can go through and say, oh, in 5 weeks, you're going to have total respect with your toddler. Yeah. Good luck with that. Okay. They're cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. How could I not have known that Pittsburgh was in Pennsylvania? I didn't know that. I was in Philadelphia for 28 years. I love being outside and lots of land and play. Yeah, I could see the animals. I would love that. I remember once, years and years ago, I was a little kid and I still remember this really vividly. My dad grew up in a farm and we went and visited one of his uncles. I was raised in the suburbs. Anyway, went and visited one of his uncle's farms and I was terrified of bulls. I kept hearing, don't go near the bull. Well, I was like 5. I didn't know what a bull was. Anyway, and I was cornered by a bull in the barn. I didn't know what I was doing. And I was like this, and it was right in my face. And I screamed like hysterically. And I wasn't that type. And they came running and they were laughing. It was just Bessie the cow. I didn't know the difference. Us city folk. How humiliating. And they laughed and laughed. Okay. Can we still buy the toddler one? Yeah, you can buy the mini toddler courses or the big toddler boot camp course. Now, I've thrown in all the mini courses in addition to that, just as an extra, but you're actually buying the course. But yeah, it's open now. You can buy it. It doesn't expire. It's open now. Okay, any specific advice for parents of toddler twins? Absolutely none. Because I don't know what's going to happen. They may end up being best friends or they might try and kill each other. I don't know. But yeah, and also a lot of people expect kids to learn how to play together really well. A lot of that, you have to teach them how to play together really well. So yeah, you teach them how not to grab, and you're there facilitating it, and try and use fun. Fun is their love language when they're little, especially. So use fun, and you teach them how to share and play and take turns. And when the other kid is doing something, you go, yay, yay, and get the other kid to go, yay, yay. So you're facilitating the sharing. You're teaching them how to get along. They're still probably going to try and kill each other every so often. That's really normal for toddlers because they're at the same level. So there's going to be more competition generally. We are on week 2. Oh, sugar. We are on week. Sorry, I lost it. We were in week 2 on your boot camp course, going really well. Thank you so much. The boot camp course. Oh, right. I remember that name. Beautiful. You're Italian, right? Beautiful name. Libertaria. I know I'm saying it wrong, I'm sure. Lombardo. Beautiful. Anyway, that's such a pretty name. It's like should be a song. What was my train of thought? Oh yeah, she's talking about the 3 to 12-year-old boot camp course. That one is a whole process, a method that you go through 5 weeks, how to get respect with your children, 3 to 12 years old. So I'm glad it's going well. Good for you. You know, all I do is give you advice. You're the ones doing the work. Whenever I'm working with coaching and people thank me and they say, oh, thanks so much, it's going so great. And I say, no, don't thank me. You know, take yourself out for a drink or ice cream or something because you're the ones doing the work, right? I read a lot of stuff that I should be doing and I don't do it. So, yeah. But if you're doing the work, then you congratulate yourself. Okay. My 3 almost 4-year-old granddaughter who lives with us has quite the attitude, very sassy. Okay, I don't teach grandparenting, but unless you have full custody. But you want to set yourself up as the leader. Check out my boot camp course. That's all about you and your leadership. Remember, we're not fixing kids. We're fixing parents and teaching parents here. I'm teaching calm leadership parenting. So you're calm during the storms and you're crazy during the rainbows. What I mean by that is that when you're disciplining and correcting behavior, you're very calm. It's like a business transaction. The rest of the time you can be crazy and fun and like a lunatic like I was. I used to chase my kids around the house with underpants on my head. I was the panty monster. So, and the leg holes were the eye holes. It's a whole thing. Okay. Any suggestions for a almost 3-year-old who seems to be dramatic when not getting what she wants? She pouts. Pouts and goes to her room and slams the door. We think she's learned to just give herself space. No, no. She's learned to teach you a lesson because it must bother you. I would go, yippee, she's in a mood and she's over there. Yeah, don't go in the room unless she's not safe in there or something. But yeah, no, the slamming of the door is she's letting you know she's not happy with you. Must mean it works. And also they don't do that when you're a leader. So check out the boot camp course, or at the least check out the behavior board. That's completely free. Now I have 2 boot camp courses now. I have one for 16 to 35 months. That's the toddler one. You don't need that one. If she's almost 3, I would go to the 3 to 12-year-old one. What do you do when a 22-month-old starts hitting while you're filing your nails? Okay, what I say is when they're having a tantrum, you're just like pretending you're filing your nails or something, right? You're just ignoring the tantrum. But if they start getting aggressive and violent and start attacking you, then you physically restrain them. You still ignore them though. You don't talk to them or look at them. You just prevent them from getting violent. If they're hurting themselves, hurting someone else, or damaging property, you just physically restrain them just for a minute or 2. Let go. If they go for it again, grab them again. and you're just looking around still. The best way to grab them if they're big and it's harder to do is to hold them here, and you're both facing forward, and hold them down on the ground, but you're both facing forward. It's harder for them to headbutt, bite, and kick you in that position. But you're calm as anything. They're going to be going crazy. The more crazy they are, the calmer you've got to stay, right? If you meet them, you want them to react to your calmness. You don't want to react to their crazy. Don't go in their crazy zone. Wait till they come down to your calm zone. So you ignore the crazy, then reward the calm with tantrums. Not with everything, but with tantrums. My toddler has a meltdown every time I try to change his nappy. Nothing I seem to do helps the situation. That's a little bit of a cumulative thing. Did I say that word right? Cumulative. In that if you're kind of a leader with stuff, in other words, if you say what you mean and mean what you say, that tends to peter out. It tends to get better, but not right away. They don't learn right away. And what I did with my kids, when they went through, I called it the crocodile spinning stage. You know how crocodiles roll? I raised my kids in Australia too. So Steve, remember the crocodiles rolling all the time? So when they started doing the crocodile roll on the change table, I just held them down, my arm across their chest, and I changed that nappy as fast as possible. It may have been all crooked and may have missed a leg. I don't care. When I said I'm changing your nappy, I changed it. So I followed through with whatever I said. I followed through with it. Okay, calm as anything, but I always win those battles. You have to win the battles. If you let a toddler win a battle, watch out. They've just learned, wait a minute, you're not in charge. I think I could do it. So yeah, they're starting to learn who the leader is already. The reason I know this is our kids were really tiny, and they were very different with their dad changing them than they were with me. So they eventually learned when mom said, I'm changing your nappy, it was going to get done. When he said, I'm going to change your nappy, he'd say, how about we change your nappy now? Oh, you want a book? You want this? They were sort of in charge of it more. And that's usually the way it is. There's usually one stronger leader than the other. He was more the pleaser. I was the leader. And it complements itself beautifully. Like I used to sit and lean in the door frame with a cup of tea, watching him try and change the kids. It was entertaining. But yeah. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So long as the pleaser defers to the leader, basically, especially as they're growing up. Like you never go against the leader. My mom was the leader. My dad was the pleaser. I can remember when dad figured that out to use my mom as leverage. I remember I used to say to dad, if I wanted something I knew mom didn't want me to have, I would whisper to him so she couldn't hear. Daddy, can I please have whatever it was, right? And he'd go, sure, sweetie pie, you can have anything you want. And I go like this. And then he'd go, oh, let's go ask mom first. And I go, oh, never mind. Because I knew mom would have said, are you kidding me, Phil? Don't give her that. And I would have been, oops, never mind. So yeah, it's okay if you have a leader and a pleaser as parents. It works beautifully, so long as the pleaser defers to the leader and uses the leader as leverage when necessary. And then by the time the kids are about 3.5, they just respect everybody. They don't take advantage of the pleaser because they know it's going to get back to the leader anyway. And they are drawn to that leader and who they are with that leader. By the time they're 3.5, especially, they like themselves the most when they're with the leader because that's when they're the best behaved. So that they form that personality and they're like that everywhere. So then the pleaser doesn't even have to use the leader as leverage. The kids are just sort of respectful everywhere. Oh. Well, I don't understand this. Dorinda, 2.5-year-old runs away at various times, like changing diapers. Why are they getting access to running away? I would have a grip on them. We're going to be changing your nappy. There's no way they would get away from me. When I say I'm going to do something, I make sure I'm ready to do it. Like I don't just say it as a suggestion. I say, okay, time to change your nappy. The kids would have just followed me in their room because they knew it was going to happen no matter what. You might have to go through a couple of fights at first where you have to make sure you pick them up kicking and screaming, put them on the change table, change their nappy. You see, you got to win these battles, but you only have to win it a few times and then they just give up. They realize, oh, you know what you're doing. They start to clue in that there's no point fighting. Plus, I play hard with kids too, so I mix fun. You can't just be this tough. Like, when I say what I mean what I say. You got to mix it with fun, okay? Because you got to balance it out. You meet their needs and manage their wants. Their needs are fun. Their needs are joy, happiness, laughing, learning, playing. That's their love language. You've got to play with them too. Okay, this one you're probably not going to like because you're going to say, but I can't make that work. But I'm just going to tell you what I normally tell my clients who I'm coaching. This is for Carrie Davanzo. Davanzo. Sorry. What do I do about my 2-year-old that keeps knocking over or destroying my 5-year-old towers and building blocks that he works hard on? Do I just remove him and keep doing? Okay, you got to say to your 5-year-old, you can only do that somewhere where the 2-year-old can't get access. So there has to be a spot where you can lock him away and the 2-year-old cannot get access. It's the only way to really police that. Yeah, I would do that. I would literally have a place where that 5-year-old could just go and the other one couldn't get in there. You know what's interesting though? And I don't lock the 2-year-old away. You don't put them in the laundry room and lock the door. It's the one who wants to do the blocks or get the peace and quiet. You lock them away in a certain room. You know what's interesting? Is they get bored being alone in a certain room doing that. They learn to kind of come out and play anyway. And you can start teaching the 2-year-old, you don't do, and consistent corrective actions. If they do that, then you can pull them away and keep them away from the 5-year-old. There's lots of different ways of doing that. But yeah, the 5-year-old usually gets bored with being in a room all by themselves playing with blocks. Then they'll usually come out and start playing with the 2-year-old anyway, because they get lonely. That sort of often happens. Not always, but it often happens. What's the best way to improve my leadership skills? 4-year-old just doesn't listen. Okay, well, check out my boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old, or you can get my free behavior board. That's a good place to start. But if you look at the boot camp course first and you decide you might buy that, don't just do the behavior board on your own first. A lot of people do, but you want to, there's a lot more information in the course that sort of facilitates it to work better. But yeah, you can try the behavior board on your own. But if you're going to buy the course anyway, don't do the behavior board without the course. But if you're not going to buy the course, then do the behavior board. Okay. What am I going to say? Oh, these are my top 3 leadership qualities as a parent. Okay. You stay calm during the storms. So when you're disciplining or when they're upset, you stay completely calm. It's like a business transaction. Eliminate all of your emotions. They're going like this. You just stay calm as a cucumber. So you stay calm during the storms. Be crazy during the rainbows. When your kids are good and everything's good, I was one of those nutty mothers. I was crazy. I was always doing silly things with my kids, but only when they were good. If they ever acted out, I would have gone, oops, okay, never mind then. We might try it again tomorrow. And then they go, oh, sorry, mom. Sorry, they like fun, mom, right? So you can be crazy during the rainbows when everything's good. And then be a great listener. You listen to understand and show empathy, even with little ones. My mom, I can remember this really well. I was little, like 3 or 4, and I'd say, Mommy, what should I'd have a problem. What should I do? She always answered the exact same way. She'd say, well, I don't know. You're a smart girl. You can figure it out. And then we'd talk about it. I always thought I was coming up with all my own solutions. She was feeding me ideas, but she empowered me to problem solve, to not just sit around and whine, but come on, what are you going to do about it? Let's figure this out. Every challenge is meant to be solved. Every challenge and every failure is meant to learn from and grow. That's sort of what I got from her. And there's no shame in making mistakes. There's only shame in not wanting to be a better person. Okay. I get this a lot with clients. I think I had one this morning. I'm pretty sure it was this morning. And she said, I've just made so many mistakes. And I said, so move on. You think we all don't make mistakes? Geez, let it go. Be easy on yourself. No bad parent ever hires a parenting coach, by the way, ever. So yeah, and a lot of parents just wallow in all the mistakes they've made and they go down the guilt trail. I say, you know what? You can do that later on, but when you're working with me, let it go because it's not going to serve you. So you did the best you knew how at the time. Now you've hired me to show you how to do it better. So don't go down that guilt path. I can't stand that because it just gets in the way. And I hate seeing parents beat themselves up. Then I'll also hear this a lot. I can't believe I'm telling you this. I've never told this to anybody. And then they'll tell me thinking I'm going to go, oh my God. And I just go, yeah, I've heard that before. What you think that you're going through and all the evil thoughts you're thinking about your kids, I'm sure you're not alone. Lots of my clients have said, if we'd known then what we know now, we never would have had kids. They're that distraught over what they're going through with their kids. So my job is so that they go, we found the joy in parenting. Thank you. That's always my goal. But yeah, if you think you're going through something unusual, chances are you're not. Once the leadership skills are in place, attitude will fix itself. Absolutely, 100%. That's the way it works. It's the last thing to go, though. Bad attitude is the last thing to go. When you set yourself up as a leader, they still remember when you weren't. They're still going to try and fight you a little bit. And that attitude, they never have an attitude with a leader. When your leadership is cemented and they like themselves when they're with you, you're really calm during the storms, crazy during the rainbows, all that stuff, then the attitude just disappears. It just does. It's the last thing to go. And it happens organically. You don't address it. You never address attitude. Could you imagine, let's say you're arguing with your husband or your wife and they say to you, oh, well, we can discuss this when you've calmed down. Like that's addressing your attitude. Could you imagine how would that go over? As soon as you calm down, we can talk about it. Oh, them's fighting words. And that's what, when you try and address attitude with kids, it's the same feeling. Those are fighting words. So yeah, it's no point. I remember once I said this to my son, and I can't believe I said it. It was so stupid because I knew better, but it felt good. He was saying something. He was a teenager, and he was saying something. I don't know. He was upset about something. I don't know what it was. It was something, just he didn't want to do a chore. I don't know what it was. It was just teenage stuff, right? So, and I said to him, I said, how about we discuss it when you calm down? Ooh, I've never said that before. And I knew better, right? But it felt good. So me calm down, you're the one that needs to calm down. And I'm like, oops, I shouldn't have said that. What you should say is, I'll tell you what, how about let's talk about it later. That's what you should say. But did it feel good to get that out? Uh-huh. I'm not perfect. I'm human, right? Felt great. Okay, anyway, we're talking about toddlers tonight because my toddler boot camp course was just launched this morning. So if you have any questions, if you've already bought that or thinking about buying it, I'm here to answer your questions today. Just focused on toddlers. And the course is 16 months to 35 months. 15 months and under, I still sort of consider a baby, but it can kind of leak into the 15, 14-month-old. But it can't go to 36 months. 36 months is 3 years old. That's when you go into the next course. The boot camp course for 3 to 12 years old. That's a 3-year-old has the ability to stop and think before they act. That's when you can get a plan of action in place. You can start to exercise your leadership in a completely different way. Under the age of 3, it's just different. It's just different. They're in the discovery phase. They don't make any sense. You can't really have a management plan in place. You just deal with stuff as it comes up. So it's more of a reference guide. Like you can refer to all this stuff that I've got in there. I don't know how many sections I've got, but they're tiny little mini sections. And I just said what you need to hear for each little habit that they might develop. But yeah, we polled and we put out on the Instagram stories just a question for 24 hours. We got hundreds and hundreds of suggestions on what to put in that course. So yeah, we listened to you. We did. It ended up way bigger than I expected. Okay. I'm not going to address that because that's a 3-year-old and that's sort of potty training. I would have to look into that a bit more anyway. But that also says to me that you're not a leader. That's a bit of a rebellious kind of a trait. Work on your leadership skills. Check out the boot camp course for 3 to 12-year-olds or look at the behavior board. If you don't want to buy the course, look at the behavior board. That's free. Okay. Oh, goodness. This is from Carolyn. Now, I said I'm just talking about toddlers, which is under 3, but I have to address this one. Preschool tells me I can't make a 4-year-old do anything. I have to make them want to do it. I would challenge that big time. Enough said. Okay. Is the price in US dollars? All of my business is run in US dollars. All my expenses are in US dollars and all my income is in US dollars. Yes. Okay, my 17-month-old has started hitting his head on the floor or whatever's in front of him. Yeah, they just don't understand saw spots, concussions, ear bleeds. They don't understand that stuff. They just hit whatever's available, and sometimes it's just themselves. It's very, very common. So you want to intervene as much as possible. Don't have sharp-edged coffee tables or whatever. Also, I've recommended foam helmets. You can get them online. Just a simple foam helmet. It was actually invented for kids with mental disabilities, and who tend to hurt themselves or hit themselves. But I suggest if I had a little one doing that, I would put that on their head, and you wouldn't believe how well it works. As soon as they hit their head, you have to be fast. You say no, and you put that helmet on them, and you leave it on them. Boy, do they learn how to stop hitting their head fast. I'm surprised how well that works. I've had so many clients say, wow, they just stopped doing it. As soon as we brought that helmet out, they stopped doing it. They hate having that helmet on. So yeah, I would do that. But you got to supervise them. Chin strap, safety issues. I don't know about all that, but the foam helmet seems to work. I'm surprised it does, but I always say they don't learn right away. It's repetition, but that's one of those things. They learn that, evidently they learn it really quick. Oh, sorry. I'm only talking about younger kids right now. I do specialize in teenagers actually, but it's just because I launched my toddler boot camp course today. So I'm just addressing that because a lot of people have questions about the course and stuff like that. So it's just for today, just because I did a course launch and it was a big course. So that's why. It's just for today. And I was also doing a live early this morning. I was on at like 7:30 this morning doing a live. I'm up at 5, so it's not like I wasn't awake, but I'm used to doing I have a whole morning routine. Okay. My almost 2-year-old is very big on saying no. Yeah. And just starts throwing a huge tantrum. Right. And it gets worse when I don't. Oh, I lost it. Here we go. It says see more, but then I hit it and it flipped ahead. And gets worse when I don't pay any attention to her. What can I do? If she's only worsening it to win. So she doesn't get attention when she first starts to have a tantrum. So she makes it worse to get attention. They have to go way sky high usually. They're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing because they're waiting for you to give in. I would never give in. Never. So it does tend to escalate. When you first start ignoring tantrums, they'll usually escalate it to get your attention because they got it before. So they think all I have to do is up it. The worse I get, the more likely they are to give me attention. And maybe even give me what I want. I don't know. But yeah, of course she's doing that. She's learned she's probably in the past, you've probably given it attention. Am I right? Yeah. So of course she's going to do that. That's very normal. They do that. Completely normal. Things often get worse before they get better because you're changing and it throws them off. They're like, what? Just yesterday I had a tantrum and I got an ice cream cone. What, today you're ignoring me? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to start kicking you and hitting you and throwing things. And you see, but you got to be very careful. You do physically restrain them when they get physically violent. Yes, you do. But only for a minute or two. You still don't talk to them or look at them. Any attention is tantrum food, but you can physically restrain them. And when I say physically restrain, you're not putting them in a straitjacket. You're just holding their hands or feet or whatever. You're preventing them from getting violent. That's all. You still don't look at them or talk to them, though. Any attention is fertilizing that tantrum. You're fertilizing it. Well, I do not understand this. How do I help my 2-year-old disengage from playing and having screen time to take a nap? You don't encourage him to disengage. You disengage him. You do it for him. Let him have a fit. He's having a hard time with the transitioning from no screen time to nap or whatever. So that's the transition. That's when toddlers generally have a tantrum. It's the transition phase. It's your job to ignore the scene that he has when you transition him. You take charge of that. Don't let him decide when the screens go off. That's your job. You let him know. Okay, we're going to be having a nap, so we have to turn this off. No. Let him have a fit. That's okay. By the way, toddlers, I'm going to read my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Toddlers are, where did I put it? What? Oh, there it is. Toddlers are in the discovery phase. They are discovering themselves, you, the floor, the toys, the fridge, the world, other people. They're discovering everything. They're trying to make sense out of stuff. They have no sense yet. They haven't developed it yet. So that's why they're going to try a lot of crazy stuff. And also understanding that they shouldn't do something doesn't stop them from doing it. Just because they know they shouldn't hit or throw things doesn't mean they're not going to do it. It's the consistent corrective actions over a period of time, repetition. They will stop doing it because they don't like the consequence, but they won't even really think about it. It'll just be a knee-jerk reaction. They'll just stop doing it eventually. Okay, these are my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, when you want to connect with a toddler, you do so in their world. You don't take them to the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. They start to look at you differently. That's part of your leadership skills, is connecting with them in their world. They just look at you differently. Anyway, number 4 is when you want to discipline a toddler, you do so, you use consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. It might take 50 times. Words mean nothing to them. You know you shouldn't do that. It hurts my feelings. And they're like, okay, I know I shouldn't. Next thing you know, they're doing it again. And you're like, what the heck? You understand that. Them understanding does not stop them from doing things. Okay, that's a big mistake people make. Professionals teach that. Anyway, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense at all. Toddlers are about actions, not words. You use consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. Okay, number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. They're going to do what they're going to do, okay? You can peter out the bad behavior, but you've got to use consistent corrective actions. That word consistent is really important. You can do something 9 times out of 10, and they won't remember, but they'll remember the one time you didn't do it right. They just do, because it's to their advantage to remember that, right? Okay, it's just different. So you might have to do it 20 or 50 times. Anyway, yeah, they're just forming. I always say they're crazy. It's just that they haven't developed saying yet. They're just not there yet. They're cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. Okay. Oops, what time is it? Oh, I'm right on time. I'm moving over to Instagram now. If you want to join me over there, it's BratBusters Parenting. You can check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, which are included in the bundle with the toddler bootcamp course now. It just came out today, and you can, but nothing expires. It's all ongoing. So you don't have to buy it and do it in one day or a week. A lot of people seem to think that. You can look at it whenever you want. The toddler bootcamp course is meant more as reference material. You may not need the whole thing, and you can't get a plan of action in with toddlers. You just deal with stuff as it comes up. That's how you do it. But anyway, so that's the toddler bootcamp course. So you can look at my bootcamp course, 3 to 12 years old. That is a plan. That's a method. You learn in 5 weeks how to get respect. Or you can look into coaching. Anyway, I'm heading over to Instagram now. I'm always on YouTube. That's where I save all of my lives. Okay, happy parenting. Bye now. Okay. Okay. The Beam family. I'm going to answer that. I don't know if you're still there, but she said, my son is 11. He thinks the worst of everything. He's a bit of a doomsday person, right? Negativity. Look at my bootcamp course for 3 to 12 years old. It's all positive based. It's about connecting more than disciplining. So the more you're connected with him, the more power you'll have over that negativity. And you want to spin it into positivity, right? Yeah, you might want to check that out. Doc says they won't hit their head hard enough to really hurt themselves. I can't go against what a doctor says, but I've known kids who've ended up with concussions because they banged their head on the floor. So I don't understand that. Hi, from Michigan. Hi, Michigan. Okay. How do I get my 2-year-old son to stay seated at the table to eat? That is one of the hardest things to deal with. At 2 years old, they should still be sitting in a high chair. And I make meal times really interactive. And I also cook around their preferences. I know what they like to eat. I made everything from scratch. And I don't really talk about what they eat because I'm not a nutritionist. But I am a crazy health food nut. But I'm not a nutritionist, so I can't teach that. But I did make everything from scratch with my kids. And I hid all the stuff in there. Their cheese sauce, you wouldn't believe what I threw in there. I remember the first time my son had pizza out and about. And he came home and he says, Mommy, the pizza sauce was really weird. It was red. Well, that's because they weren't throwing spinach in it like I did. I pureed spinach into my own pizza sauce. So yeah, I did cook around their taste, and I made mealtime fun. So if they're not going to sit in a seat, they're strapped in. That's like saying they won't stay in a car seat. Aren't they strapped in? And if they do manage to get themselves out, I would say, okay, clean up. You're all done. And that's the meal is over. Let them go for a half hour screaming because they're hungry. And then say, do you want to have another go now? They'll eventually learn. It's repetition, repetition. I must have put that in that course. Oh, by the way, I do have a new course out. It just came out today. So I'm focused on toddlers now because it's my toddler bootcamp course. I'm just going to make sure this is in the course. Toddlers sitting to eat. I must have put it in there. Sitting to eat. I'll just make sure. I must have put it in there. Anyway, yeah, just if they're not going to sit there and eat, then mealtime's over. They learn. From Brizzy. That's Brisbane, Australia. for anyone who doesn't know. That's where I raise my kids. What to do when siblings are hurting each other, but you don't actually see it and they deny it. Okay, that's older kids. I'm actually just addressing toddlers right now. So it's siblings who fight. That's kind of a long answer. I'm going to have to discuss that in another live. Sorry about that. That's kind of a long answer. Yeah. Also, you've got to teach your kids how to get along. I would say even when they're little, like toddlers, you want to teach them how to get along. So you facilitate healthy play. So you're in there and you're showing them how to, and when the other kid is playing with the toy that they wanted, you go, yay. And then you say, okay, your turn or whatever. You're actually showing them how to play well together. A lot of parents just want to correct the bad behavior rather than show them the good behavior, right? So is it that easy? Probably not. Just a little hint there. Okay. By the way, my name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses. Now I have a brand new boot camp course for toddlers. I've thrown in all the mini courses as an extra. Okay. Within that new boot camp course, it's 16 months to 35 months. And it's more of a reference guide because you can't have a plan of action. Like the bigger boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old, it's a whole 5-week plan. It's all paced out. I know exactly what I'm doing with pacing all this stuff. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. So, but with toddlers, they're just kind of crazy. It's more reacting to whatever they come out with because you never know. They're all different. They're all going to come out with different stuff. Some of them may never have a tantrum. Some of them may be climbing the walls and having tantrums constantly. So it's more of a reference guide that you can just keep looking back on whenever you need it. Okay. So, and then coaching, you can look into coaching. I keep saying I'm going to take on new clients, but I don't even know how much longer I'm going to coach. I'll be honest. We've got so many plans for this business and coaching. I only do it because I love it. I don't need to be coaching anymore. And, but yeah, I love coaching. So I guess I'll keep going with it, but I do have a wait list right now, but I don't go into heavy. I've cut back on how much coaching I do. So, but anyway, if you're in crisis, I will take on crisis clients. Okay, good point about the high chair because I've been sitting him at the family table. He's obviously not ready for that. So yeah, my kids were in a high chair for ages. And they also sat in the kid seat at the super. Every time we went shopping, they sat in that kid seat. Yeah. I don't understand what you mean by that. I don't understand. Hi, left teaching and just took a new job as a new job. What are you doing? I don't understand that. Okay, sorry, I'm scrolling ahead to make sure you're still here when I answer your questions. Okay. A 2-year-old has violent tantrums, finding anything and everything to throw, screams and cries almost for over an hour, also will hit and try and bite and hand. Okay, so he's just next level. He's like extreme tantrumer. Okay, that happens. I do have a mini tantrum course if you want to check that out. But also, do you play with him a lot? Because the more you play with him, the more clout you have, the more of a leader you look like. You have fun with them, and they tend to want the fun parent. They don't like the boring disciplinarian parent. I get really boring when I'm disciplining. I don't yell. I'm just very calm. They hate that. Because they like fun mom or fun Lisa, right? So, but yeah, if he has violent tantrums, you might want to check out my tantrum course, or you might want to look in I've got a whole toddler course now too. And the tantrum course is included in that. But yeah, you might want to check that out. Because there's got to be something else going on too. Okay, so I just don't know what that is. That would be coaching. If you're going insane and you really need coaching, you need my assessment of the situation, because I'm assuming there's other stuff that you could probably be tweaking and changing. Not just, you see what I'm saying? It's a bit of a tell. It says to me that there's probably other stuff you've got to work on too. Okay. Okay, my 2.5-year-old is pushing other kids at daycare and pushing me and grabbing me. Is this okay and normal? It's normal, but it's not okay. You got to teach them out of this stuff. Yeah, it is normal for some kids. They don't all do that. There's 4 things they're either born to do or they're never going to do. It's in their DNA. They're either going to do them or they're never going to do them. One is tantrums. One is hitting, like aggression. The other one is climbing, and the other one is running. The only one my kids did was my son had tantrums. Some of my clients will say, my kids have 7 of them. So there's only 4. So anyway, a lot of kids do all four. They're just the wilder kids, right? So, but yeah, they're all going to do it, but you got to train them out of that. And if they're doing it at home too, it actually makes them, it makes it easier for you to train them out of it. Because if they're doing it with you, you can stop it with you. You just say no, and then you take them away from the fun, or the fun away from them. And you are the fun. Like I would just say no, and then just sort of push away and wander off. If they keep following you, I'd just keep them at arm's length, but I wouldn't keep talking. I only say no once, and then I take action. They're about consistent corrective actions. They're not about words. But it's extremely common for kids to do that. How do I check out your course? The link above has everything that I have. And my daughter's now working with me full time. She's in charge of all the marketing and planning. So, and there's a picture of her. So I'm very proud of the fact that, she's doing so well. And what was I going to say about that? Yeah, there's a picture of her on there now. It's in my story. And I'm surprised. She hates being in front of the camera. She hates it. Whereas if I see a camera or a microphone, I'm like a magnet. I'm just drawn to it. Not that I think I'm that interesting. I don't know why. I just like them. But yeah, she's the opposite. But she agreed to be in a picture. So, okay. Help for their kids. For some reason, Instagram comments are weird. Don't know what you mean by that. That's that same person. I didn't understand what you said earlier either. Any advice for getting daycare? No, I'm not a specialist in that, but yeah, I know it's hard. No. Some of my clients have moved cities, so not been able to sign up for daycare while they're pregnant, because a lot of times you have to do that. So they get, there's evidently, I don't know much about this, so I can't recommend anything, but they'll get like private homes. There's lots of people out there doing private daycare. So they might take in 3 or 4 little kids. And it's just like a grandmother like my age who maybe was a teacher, maybe was a daycare worker, but they're retired now and they just want to have a couple little kids in their home, to daycare. So that's what a lot of my clients have done. And, but yeah. So they said when you can't get into a daycare, like a big daycare, they have resorted to that. And they said it's been wonderful. And often they become like friends, like a grandmother kind of situation. But boy, oh boy, wouldn't you want to check into that person, eh? My gut reaction is, but yeah. Do you know what I would do if I was going to daycare? And not that I ever will, but you know what I would do? I would have cameras everywhere. So I would say, you can watch the kids all day long. I just won't have a camera in the bathroom. So you can't watch me pee. Not that you'd want to, but yeah, I would have cameras everywhere so they could watch their kids all day. And wouldn't that be great if that, I would think, to me, that would be a great way to vet someone for I always recommend that to people who want to find a babysitter. If you want to hire a babysitter and it's, you're new in the city, you don't know anybody, and someone's recommended to you, I would go to a school and ask them, do you know any kids that might be a good babysitter, any teenagers? So anyway, I would say to them, the last thing I would say after the interview for babysitting is, now, do you mind being filmed? Because we have hidden cameras everywhere to keep an eye on the kids. If they say no, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, just watch their reaction. What are your top alternatives for timeout? Everything I talk about. I just hate timeout. I can't stand it. I think it's mean. Do you have grandkids? Just one. She's 7 months old tomorrow. Cute as a button. Okay, enough said. I don't want to go on about it. I don't want to bore you. It's not as good, though, as parenting, because you have to hand her back. Like, I loved parenting. It was the most fun I ever had. I got to keep them, but she's sort of like a loner. Like, you have to hand her back. She's just on loan. So yeah, that's the only negative to being a grandparent, is I don't get to keep her. She's my son's kid, like, Mom, can I please have my daughter back? Yeah, I guess, here you go. It's the only negative. I know most grandparents say it's the other way, but I enjoyed mothering so much. Like, it was the most fun I ever had. So probably too old for it now. Anyway, so that's okay. Well, if you've got an 18-month-old who's throwing things or slapping adults and that, you just have to physically restrain them. If you know they're going to do it, you say no, and you take away that toy, whatever they threw, it gets put away where they can see it but can't touch it for an hour or whatever. And if they're inclined to slap, you grab their hand and say no. And you just kind of look away. Then you ignore them. You don't stare them down or any of that. I think it's kind of weird. I don't want to go into what I don't like about that. But you just say no. Then you look away calmly. You disengage. Okay. What motivates you? You mean in life or with parenting? I don't know what you mean. I would have to say, if I would say what motivates me, I love health and fitness. I get excited. If I'm healthy and fit, I'm always positive. If I'm not, I'm not. So that motivates me. When you feel good and you're looking after your body and you're fit, I feel great. That motivates me. Okay, you're not going to like my answer because I don't really have one, but I'm going to read it out anyway because it's such a common question. It's about, how do you help a toddler adjust to a new baby coming into the family? How on earth could you help them adjust? It is a slap on the face when that baby comes in the house. There's no way you can prepare them for that. Could you really prepare when you had your first child? It's like that. What if your husband brought home a new wife? Like it's kind of like this person upsets your whole world. How could you possibly prepare a toddler for anything like that, or you for a new wife coming in? You know what I mean? Like it's too big of a life change to expect them to really understand. You can try all the standard stuff, like get them their own doll and all that stuff, but they're going to do what they're going to do. In the hospital, they're all over that newborn. Just a sec. I live downtown. In the hospital, they're like, oh, I love my baby. I love my baby. But then you get them home a week later, they might grab the baby and throw it on the floor. Because they're like, oh, I've had enough of this. They don't understand concussions, soft spots, and all that stuff. Don't expect them to respect how fragile a newborn is. You supervise that toddler with a newborn. It's just part of it. It's all temporary. They'll get used to it. Some toddlers never give a hoot about the newborn. They just completely ignore it. Where there's others will go in for the kill. So you got to watch them. Touche to what? What was the touche? Help with dining out. Okay. I won't read the whole question because I lost it. But how do you dine out with a toddler? Let's say you got a 2-year-old and you want to go to a restaurant with them. Here's what I did. This is what I suggest you do. I fed them before we went out, for one thing, because they might not like something might be a little bit different at the restaurant, or the rice might be touching the peas, heaven forbid, So I always fed them before we went out, because it wasn't about them eating. It was about us eating out, right? And then we'd stop off at a park on the way. If they hadn't had a lot of exercise already, if they already had, I wouldn't. But if they hadn't had a lot of exercise yet, I would take them to a park. You don't just push them in a swing. That's not exercise. They're just sitting there. You make them run around the park a little bit. So you've worn them out. So you fed them, you wore them out. Then when you get there, oh, Mom, what have I got here? Oh, I've got a coloring book. I always had something brand new that they had never seen before. So I'd bring it out in the restaurant. And then they'd sit there and color while we would sit and eat and have a glass of wine, piece of cake. I remember people used to see us coming in with our little kids in a nice restaurant, and they'd go, oh, no. And then on their way out, they'd always stop by our table saying, your kids are so good. Well, I manifested that. I managed it, right? Plus, I was already kind of a leader anyway. It was easier. But that's one of the things. That's 3 of the things that you can do. But make sure, give them something to do. Plus, I never wanted to hear any arguing or fighting about food. I never wanted to hear, I hate this. I would never have tolerated that. Like, that would have driven me nuts. If I go out to a nice restaurant, I want to be able to relax and enjoy, right? So that's why I did all that. So I could just sit back and relax and enjoy. And the kids would just be coloring. They might eat some of the food that we might order them stuff, but if they didn't want it, they've already eaten anyway. Who cares, right? Okay, how to prepare a toddler for daycare for the first time, 2 years old. It's like a transition. It's like a newborn coming into the house. You can't really prepare them. So, but what I would do, what I did with my little kids, I think the only time they were separated, oh no, that's not true. They went in the daycare at the gym, and it was only for an hour, and so it was a little bit different. And I was right down the hall. And they were good when they first had a new little one coming into the daycare. They would often come and get us and say, oh, they're just really upset because Anyway, so if you're dropping them off at daycare, you might want to visit the daycare beforehand. And then you pack a lunch and you say, here it is. And you can, if you get access to the playground, that would be really great. You don't usually, but if you could, you can go in and play. So they're familiar with the surroundings. It's still going to be hard though. And then you do the dump and run. When you do drop them off, don't make a big deal out of the goodbye or the hello. You just say, okay, we'll see you later. And you end on that later, that note, and you make it fast. Daycare people, they know how to deal with separation anxiety. Okay. They deal with it all the time at the start. When a kid first starts, they deal with it all the time. So let them deal with your child. Just dump and run. And then when you come back, don't go, oh, my angel, I missed you. Don't go overboard. Just say, and then they're all crying because they're so excited to see you. You're okay. Okay, let's go to the park. We're going to go on the swing, or let's go home and get a snack, or, matter of fact, like it's no big deal. So minimize the emotions when it comes to the goodbyes and the hellos. I can remember my mom. My dad would have definitely got me more upset because he would have said, are you okay, sweetie? No. Whereas my mom would have said, you're all right. You just go ahead. You're fine. You're going to make lots of new friends. And I would go, oh, okay. She just had that different energy. Whereas my dad would have fed my fears, right? Because he was trying to, it's okay. I love you. I'll be back in it. Don't go, Daddy. So you see? Okay, by the way, check out the link above. I got my brand new toddler course, just came out today if you're interested. Check it out. It's more of a reference guide because you can't manage and plan out toddlers. They're going to do what they're going to do. What you're doing is when you're going to be reacting to certain things that they might start, they might not even do some of these things, but I've made it like a reference guide. If you've got a problem, it's all in there, hopefully. Anyway, you guys have sort of already told me what you wanted in there, so that's what I put in there. Anyway, so it's more of a reference guide, and you just look at it whenever you're having a problem with your toddler, but I do suggest if you're going to go through the course, go through it all. It'll give you an idea of what toddlers are all about. They're all feet, no brains. They're cute as a button, but they're just forming. They're brand new, fresh human beings. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years, and the first year you're a potato laying on a mattress. Like, I hope it humanizes them more and just shows you, yeah, they are crazy, and that's okay. They're just toddlers. They're in that discovery phase. Anyway, and all of my mini courses, my mini toddler courses have all been thrown in as a bonus. You are paying for the boot camp course for toddlers, but I've thrown in all the mini courses in addition. Anyway, and then I've got the regular boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old. And then, of course, you can look into coaching. Okay, sorry, I'm only talking about toddlers today in the live because I just released that course today. It just launched this morning. So I'm just for today, I'm only talking about toddlers. 21-month-old crying, whining about things in the kitchen he's not allowed to play with. Scissors, that's okay. I don't understand the problem. It's okay that he cries and whines for that. Just don't give it to him. I don't know what you mean by that. Thoughts about sound machine during sleep? Oh, I highly recommend sound machines, galaxy lights, the clocks that have the colors that show. All sorts of tools are great for kids. There's one that I've never been able to find, but a client showed me they had it. And it was their kids were getting up too early in the morning. So they had this clock, and I can't remember what it was. It was a duck or something. When that duck popped up, that's when they were allowed to get up. So it was really cute. It was a wake-up clock, but I haven't looked that hard, but I haven't been able to find it. But yeah, I recommend all that stuff that helps. Do you have any thoughts on sleep training a 2-year-old? Well, I don't call it sleep training at that age. If they're in a cot, in a crib, I guess it would be. But once they're in a bed, then I have my bedtime battles course. You might want to check that out if you're interested. It's in the link above. It's a whole process, how to get them in bed and how to keep them there. Getting them in bed is easier. Keeping them there is the hard part, generally. One of my clients said, oh, we don't have a problem getting them in. We don't have a problem getting them to bed. We have a problem or was it the other way around? Yeah, we don't have a problem getting them to bed at all. But then I asked them, there was just something they said, and I thought, okay, well, how long does it take? And it took 2 hours. So I said, yeah, that's a problem getting them to bed. Because they said, oh, then they want that, then they want that. So they did have a problem getting them to bed. A bedtime routine should only take an hour. Because they did want them in bed by 8, but the kids weren't in bed till 10 every night. But they had no problem getting them in bed. That was cute. Okay. Well, I never know what to say about this because I'm not a speech therapist or a pediatrician or a doctor or anything, but you're asking me any recommendations for toddlers with delayed speech. He's 2 and he doesn't have any words yet. I knew someone years ago who was 3 years old, had not walked or talked till she was 3. Then her mother always told this story. Then on her 3rd birthday, she got up and never shut up and ran. So she just was laid back, didn't bother her. And I've got my granddaughter, she's 7 months old. Her father, my son, never shut up from the time he came out of the womb. He came out of the womb talking. I mean, he just was always, he was so impressed with his own voice. He was tiny and he'd go, ah, and then he'd go, ah, like he loved the sound of his own voice. He still does. So he's 34 now, but he came out of the womb talking, and his daughter is not like that at all. So it's quite interesting to watch the difference. So yeah, some of them just talk earlier than others. I'm not saying that your child doesn't have speech delay, but I'm just saying it's quite common for a 2-year-old to not speak. So that's up to you whether or not you think it's an issue. But yeah, like my little granddaughter, he's nothing like her father was. Nothing in that respect. Yeah, he talked a lot right from day one. Not words, but babbling, like he was always verbalizing. The grow clock. Oh, I'll look that up. I don't know what that is. I am planning on getting an Amazon storefront or some kind of a storefront because there's so many things that I recommend. And people always ask me for the links. I don't have any. So, yeah. How do you distinguish a toddler who's upset versus a toddler having a tantrum? When they're just upset, you can say something and they'll stop. When they're having a tantrum, they don't stop. Yeah. Well, they will if you give them exactly what they want. Sometimes that even won't stop them. It's like they're like a runaway train going down a hill. It's nothing can stop a tantrum. They just learn how to get themselves out of it eventually. But yeah, can they be interrupted? Like, in other words, if you said something, oh, are you all right? If they're just upset, then they'd be more likely to sort of come over to you and stop. Generally, but you usually know when they're having a fit, scene, meltdown, or tantrum. They're when they've completely lost their nuts, right? Okay, what age to transfer toddler from a crib to a bed? I waited till my kids flopped out on the floor, and they were both really young. They were under 2, I think. So I waited till they flopped out and hit the floor. I think I saw my daughter was going to do it, and I'm pretty sure I put something down. So she flopped onto another mattress or something, but my son just hit the floor. It was carpeting, but still. Yeah, that was it. I instantly dismantled the crib, and I just used the crib mattress for a while till we got a bigger bed for him. But yeah, that's what I did. They were both under 2 I'm pretty sure they were both under 2 when they went into a bed. Okay. Toddler. Okay. I know exactly what I'm going to say here. Toddler running away at any chance and thinks it's a game, but will not sit in a chair pram without screaming. Who cares if he's screaming? Why do you care? Why on earth? So he's got all the power. All he has to do is scream, and you'll get out of it, right? Yeah, no, it wouldn't bother me at all. What do you do in the car seat? Like, does he scream there too? Or he knows he can't get out of it, so he doesn't scream. You see, that's a tell. So you didn't mention the car seat there. So yeah, he's only doing it because he knows he's in control. So I wouldn't care if he screamed. Or there's 2 answers there. If he's out of there and he's a runner, then I would put a harness on him before I go out and say, if you run away from us, you're going to get clipped into this leash. And the second he starts to run away, clip and keep him clipped in for the rest of that outing. It'll be hellfire. But it's the lesson. You got to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. Everyone wants the rainbow, but you got to go through the storm. You got to go through this stuff. Everyone says, how do we avoid the scenes? And I'm like, I don't know. Give them everything they want all the time. And then, yeah, you'll be in big trouble down the road. But yeah, the scenes are them learning they can't get their own way. That is the lesson. So you got to be willing to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. Everyone wants the rainbow without the storm. There is no rainbow without a storm. Right? Okay. I got to move over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's BratBusters Parenting. You can check out the link above. I've got all my stuffs up there. You can see my free behavior board, my big boot camp course from 3 to 12 years old, or coaching. Now I have a brand new toddler course out. It's the big boot camp course for toddlers. It just came out this morning, and it includes, as a bonus, you're paying for the course, but as a bonus, I've thrown in all the toddler mini courses. So if you just want the toddler mini courses like bedtime or something, you can just get that still. Okay. But if you're going to buy the toddler bootcamp course, I've thrown all those 4 mini courses into it. Okay, so I'm moving over to TikTok now. It's BratBusters Parenting over there. So happy parenting. Take care. Bye now. Oops, I'm in the wrong account. I've done that before. I have a personal TikTok account. I just talk about old lady fitness stuff. And I've gone in there before and trying to do my live, and they're like, what are you talking about parenting in here for? Okay. How do you teach a toddler that we need our space to be like quiet too? If you don't, I mean, you want to reason with a toddler? I don't know. I don't know. You want him to put on his adult brain and reason that through? Yeah, I don't know. I got no answer for you there. Okay, I'm just waiting for people to turn up. My eyes have been sore lately. Okay, just waiting. I'm just sort of taking a break, waiting for people to turn up. Okay. Okay. I don't know how old he is, but I'm going to answer this anyways because it's such a straight answer. Son got upset, threw something at me, and said, sorry. Do I still give him a consequence? Let's say you murdered someone and you said, sorry. Do you still go to jail? You still did. You got to do the time because you did the crime, right? Saying sorry is not a get out of jail free. I hate the word sorry sometimes. You know, it's so overused now. Well, he said he was sorry. Yeah, but he murdered my whole family. But he said he was sorry. You're not very forgiving, are you? Like you still got to do the crime or do the time when you commit the crime. So yeah, he's using I'm sorry as a get out of jail free. So yeah, that's nice that you're sorry, but here's the consequence. I'm only reading this because I don't know what you mean. Maybe somebody can explain it. How to deal with the beige diet. Every time I see a show, and I sometimes will watch these things just for entertainment. I'm a health food nut, by the way. So every time I'll watch, and every time I see someone eating unhealthy food, it's all beige. It's all the fried, deep fried. It's all the beige food. I don't eat anything beige. That's not true. I eat, well, it's kind of orange. I eat a lot of squash and that. But yeah, beige. That's the way I think of a beige diet. It's all deep fried. Am I right? Is that what that is? Okay. I eat so weird that no one can feed me. Yeah, I would get ill if I had to eat usually what people feed because I'm just so used to eating a certain way. My system just can't take anything. I'm not saying it's the way to be. It's just the way I've become. You get old and you learn what works for you. I know how I like to look and feel, and I just eat accordingly. I'm 63. I can do whatever I want. Okay. What do you eat for lunch? Yeah, I don't want to talk about all my food. I will say though, and I didn't raise my kids this way, but I was really into health food. I made everything from scratch with my kids, and God, I hate cooking, but I did it anyway. And I was really good at hiding healthy stuff in everything I made. Like I did a lot of baking too. I made all our bread. I made tons of muffins and cookies and cakes, but they didn't taste like the stuff you'd buy at a bakery. They were all full of all sorts of seeds and cauliflower, and I was pretty sneaky. But then that was when they were growing up. We ate, we sort of ate everything as long as it was healthy. And I never had any junk food in the house. There was no ice cream in our freezer or anything, or if there was, it was rare. But yeah, now I'm a gluten-free health food vegan. So, but that's just my choice. But yeah, I wouldn't do that to my kids because I don't know. I don't defend it. It just works for me. So I don't know if it's the right thing to do. I don't know. You just got to do what you feel right doing, right? This is funny. A kid gets jealous of others enjoying themselves. Sounds very entitled. I'm the only one that can enjoy myself. I don't know how old he is, but that's a very entitled attitude. Okay, so let's get going with your questions. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my boot camp course for 3 to 12-year-olds, or you can look into coaching. I have a brand new toddler course out. It's the boot camp course for toddlers 16 to 35 months old. It's more of a reference guide. You'll see it's all explained in the link above. And I'm throwing in all of my mini courses to go with it. They're just an added bonus in that course. You can still buy those separately. If you only want to know about potty training, you can still buy that separately. But it will be included in the big bundle, the big toddler boot camp bundle. We just did that this morning. We just launched it this morning. So anyway, I always swore I'd never do a toddler course because what was I going to put in it? Toddlers are crazy. The end. But really, I did it like a reference guide because you can't plan everything out and manage it. You got to just go with what's going on in their little worlds. You got to learn how to manage each thing that comes up as it comes up. You can't manage a toddler. It's just different. So it's a reference guide. You'll see if you look into it. It's all these little mini lessons. Okay. What was my favorite kid age to parent? My favorite age is teenagers, by far. Yeah. My least favorite age was toddlers because I'm a safety nut. I love them at home because it was child-proof and I didn't have to worry about them. But every time we go out when I had toddlers, I watched them like a hawk. I could never relax because I am a safety crazy nut. But yeah, teenagers are my favorite age. That's why I specialize in teenagers in my business too. I started my business doing teen crisis work 17 years ago. That's how I started. And then I remember I did a news show once and it was talking about a crisis, something horrible this kid had done to himself. And so I was doing the news and they introduced me as the crisis queen. And I thought, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be the crisis queen. Like I would never call myself a queen, or I don't want to be the crisis queen. So I thought, no, I'm going to lean more into preventing all that stuff. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm trying to encourage parents to be leaders, because when you're leaders, you bring out the best in your kids. They like themselves. And you can relax and just enjoy them because you don't have to waste time disciplining them. Yeah, you get that done initially. Once you're a leader, my kids were 3.5 and they were basically self-disciplined right through the teen years. And the reason why I like teenagers so much is I know how to adjust my parenting to suit teenagers because I do specialize in teenagers. The reason why a lot of parents have trouble with them is they're still trying to micromanage their teenagers. You don't do that. I'm going to read out my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers, even though I said I'm focused on toddlers, but it's so important to change your parenting when you got a teenager. The number 1 is listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. This can start when they're like really little, 3-4 years old. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. Okay, they already know it anyway by the time they're teenagers. Number 2 with teenagers is you can negotiate pretty much everything. You say, hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper. What do you want from me? It's reciprocity, or give respect to get it, right? Number 3 is with teenagers, don't sweat the small stuff. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. Or do you want to hear what I did this morning? We all make mistakes. There's nothing wrong with not being perfect, okay? And don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. I won't go into that because I do want to focus on toddlers because I just launched my toddler bootcamp course today. So just for today, I'm just going to focus on under 3 with your questions. And I did a 7:30 this morning, I did a live also, just as we were launching the course. Okay, how did you gain your knowledge? I was 11 years old and I started volunteering in daycare centers. That was 52 years ago. And what 11-year-old does that? I was good at it. And the daycare ladies kept saying to me, how do you do that? The kids look up to you. They do whatever you say, but they want to be with you. I was kind of just born to do this, to be honest. And then I volunteered for decades and decades, working in homes, schools, hospitals with disabled children. I just found kids. I wanted to learn about kids because I think if you can understand kids at all different developmental ages, you can understand how you formed and yourself. It's a real insight into humans, into adults, is how did we form? Anyway, so that's how I did it. And then I was mentoring troubled teens, and they told me, Lisa, you got to teach this stuff. No one talks to us like you do. And they told me to start this business. So that's how it started. And it is heavily experience-based. Like a huge portion of my clients are teachers, principals, and child psychologists. I couldn't do their jobs. They're taught, that's a business. It's an institution. It's completely different. Parenting is personal. It's different. It just is. That's why they hire me, because they identify what I learned is not working with my own kids. It is just different. Like I couldn't do their jobs. They struggle with parenting. It's personal. And also, if you don't like what I'm saying, move on to someone else, okay? Because if you don't like me today, you're never going to like me. I just says it like it is. I can't help myself. I have no filter. So, and I've been doing this forever. Now, if you're going to take parenting advice from someone, if you're going to go search someone out, there's 2 criteria. There's no way I would take parenting advice from someone without these 2 criteria. They have to have finished the job with their own kids. Have they lived with teenagers to young adults? Have they done that? How can they teach parenting if they don't know how it ends? It doesn't make any sense at all to me. Also, they might have just had really easy kids. They had to have worked with hundreds of other kids, all sorts of challenges before they can teach this stuff. Those are the 2 criteria. They have to be heavily experienced, because the stuff that comes up in coaching, it's so random and some of it's really odd. And if I didn't have all this experience, I couldn't possibly answer a lot of it. I could guess, but I don't do that. So yeah. But anyway. I know that I don't know who else is out there because I'm very careful about that. I do not I've never read a book on kids or parenting or or I don't know anybody else who's out there teaching parenting. I'm very careful about that. But yeah, I'm sure there's young people out there teaching it, but be cautious, because a lot of what's taught, that my clients come to me and say it's really popular, they're teaching this, it backfires down the road. But those people don't know it because they've just got young kids. How do they know? They haven't finished the job yet. How do they know? A lot of what's common and popular and trendy backfires big time. So then I have to fix all that. It's frustrating for me. But anyway, whatever. Okay. Love your parental advice from Las Vegas. Hi, Las Vegas. I'm not a gambler, but I do think Las Vegas is fun. Okay. Two-year-old is being mean to everyone. She yells no to everything and everyone. What do I do? I don't know. Like, I don't know what you mean by that. Is she does it matter? Can she just, what I mean is, don't people just avoid her and she'll eventually learn? It was interesting. There was this, it was on one of my lives, and someone said, where is it here? She was 8 years old, and it was in one of the lives. Someone wrote this down, and they said, oh, here it is. And they said she had an 8-year-old daughter, and the girl bullied. She was mean to everybody. And she would bully them, call them names, just horrible. And then she'd come home crying because no one liked her. So I said, tell her, if you want to be liked, you've got to be likable. Like, I think the mom was just too scared to tell her that she wasn't likable. But I said, I would say that in a shot. You got to be likable. You got to earn that. Like, you got to earn this respect with your kids too. I don't expect anything to be handed to me. That's an entitlement, right? She's entitlement. She can treat other people like crap, and she's entitled to be liked. Like, you don't want to teach that to your kids. I always told my kids, when you go out in the world, no one gives a hoot about you. When you come home, you are treasured and wallowed in. You're the most special people in our world, but you have to earn other people liking you. You got to earn that. You got to work for that. You got to prove yourself. Our love is unconditional, but out there in the world, it's not. So yeah, and I said, you got to be likable to be liked. So hopefully she told her dog that, but I thought that was funny. She couldn't figure out why no one liked her. Couldn't put that together. Oh, God. Is the program going to be available also in Spanish? No, it's not, because I don't know anything about Spanish. I don't know how to do that. But as something that we're looking into is stuff like that. But I know that you can type all the content that's written. You can type that in somewhere, and it can be translated. But I don't have the app to do that. You would have to do that. I coach clients all over the world, but I only coach clients who can speak English because I don't know. That's not true. I sometimes will get one parent who can speak English and the other one can't. And then they'll talk to the other parent and explain what I'm saying. So it takes twice as long. But yeah. Sorry, I think I'm going to sneeze just a second. Okay. This is Annie. You're going to start a new job at a preschool, ages 3 to 4 years old. I couldn't do that. I'm a connector with kids. Like, what I mean by that is I'm mother kids. I would never want to work with a group of kids because I do all the mothering. That's why I teach parenting. I could never teach daycaring or anything. I get a lot of people asking me how to deal with daycare and students. And I wouldn't know, because I'm about emotional connection with kids. Whenever I worked with a kid, I was mothering them. So yeah, that's why I teach parenting. But yeah, so I could never do that. I just admire that. I would never want to work with groups of kids. I've done it, but it's not my thing. I hope you don't have plans to retire soon. Well, fortunately and unfortunately, my daughter just came on full time. So now I've got the responsibility of her. So I can't retire now. So we keep laughing at that. Like, here I was looking into retiring, and now I'm 63. So yeah, I'm sure I'll be going for quite some time now. So it's good. It's good. Plus, she's very driven with business. She likes to plan everything out. And yeah, someone said you look 90. That must be. Either that was a typo or you're just snotty. That's okay. I can take it. Or just a kid. Okay. That reminds me of, I can't say what I said back, but years ago, I met this troubled teen. So I'm assuming you're a teenager or something. And so anyway, and they were, had attitude and all that. So we were introduced. I was going to be this kid's mentor. And we were introduced, and he looked down at me and he goes, God, you're old. Now, I was like 30 in my 30s back then. And I laugh now and I think, wonder what he would have said now. God, you're decrepit. It's funny. I can't tell you what I said back to him. I only tell that story in coaching because I would never recommend what I said back to him. Okay. Oh, I never worry about people being nasty because I know it comes from a source of pain. You can't be mean if you're happy. So just allow people to, that's okay. They could have mental health issues or be depressed or something. I'm totally fine with that. Don't worry about me. I had my first baby and love your parenting advice. Oh, that's sweet. How to build confidence and self-esteem in young kids. I would say the easiest, quickest answer is to have fun with them. Play in their world. Their love language is fun. When you enjoy playing with your children, it makes them feel good about themselves. Praise is overrated. Play is underrated. Play with your kids in their world. I play hard with kids. That was my superpower. The more I played with them, the more respect I got. But then if they acted out, I just stopped the play very quickly. No, didn't like that. Okay, we'll just stop for a minute now. Ooh, they didn't like that. They learned very quickly. Anyway, what was I going to say about that? Yeah, play is their love language. Okay, let's say you have a 3-year-old and you say to that 3-year-old, oh, you're so pretty, you're so smart, and I love you so much, and I'm going to go do the dishes now. And you walk up. This is the 3-year-old. You say to that same little kid, what are you doing? Can I play too? Watch their face. See the difference? Their love language is not praise. Makes you feel good saying it, but it does squat for them. They could care less. You play with them. Play is their love language. It makes them feel wonderful if you enjoy them. Oh, what a sweet thing to say. I get this. You probably follow a lot of the same stuff I do. I appreciate your greatest asset, which is your time. They always say the only thing that we're all the same plane on is time. We all have the same amount of time in this world, basically. So yeah, time is an asset, isn't it? Okay, I get this all the time. What if I love my kids but don't enjoy playing? Ha ha. Okay. Do I want to tell this story? No. I tell a lot of stories in coaching. It's not really what I want to tell here. Anyway, let me think here. It's just such a good story for that. Fine. Okay. Do you know what? I know. I got a good idea. When my kids were, my son especially, when he was a baby, and I was really tired. I got up really early. I do a lot of housework first thing in the morning, and I love doing that. So I'd get all the laundry hung up and everything. Anyway, and then so I was tired in the afternoon, and it was hot. I raised my kids in Australia, so it was stinking hot. No, and we didn't have air conditioning at the time. So he was just a baby. And what I would do was, it's not really a lot of fun playing with a baby, right? You know what I mean? Like, they're not really, and he was probably about, I don't know, 6-10 months old, around that age, like not up on his feet yet. And what I would do is I would have a nap. I would lay down in the living room on the carpet, literally just lay down and fall asleep. You know what I would do? I would put all sorts of train sets and everything on top of me. And the hammer and all the tool kits and everything, my whole body would be surrounded by all his toys. He would play on me. And I would wake up if I didn't feel him hammering on my stomach or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would play. I was still in his world playing with him, but I was actually asleep. So I was playing with him, or he was sort of playing on me, but I would wake up because I was instinctively, I would wake up if he crawled away. So yeah. Or like, I also love, another thing I do as he was getting older, I love anything to do with massages or anything like that. So I would draw tracks on my arms, like I don't remember what I'd use, but anyway, I don't remember what I would use. I don't know. Anyway, I would draw lines on my arm, and they would be for the cars to go in, and he'd just run his cars up and down my arm, and he'd be talking to me, and I'd just be sitting there and he'd be playing. So I was still there, right? I was still there. But yeah. And did I enjoy that? You bet. I loved it. And then I'd lay on my stomach and he'd run his cars all over my back. I love that. He's talking away and I'm going, yeah, that's great. Oh, it feels great. One thing neither of my kids like doing, and it's one of my favorite, I've never known anyone in my life who likes brushing hair. I love having my hair brushed. You brush my hair, I'll follow you anywhere. And I've never had anyone in my life who likes brushing my hair. So whenever I'd punish my kids because they forgot to do a chore or something, and then they'd say, oh, sorry, Mom, I forgot to make my bed this morning before school. And I'd say, go get the brush. In 5 minutes, they'd have to brush my hair. So yeah, find a way to make it fun. If you like all that kind of stuff like I did, I just drew stuff all over me. I became the road. I became the mountains they were driving over. They would build stuff around me. And sometimes the phone would ring and I'd have this big bridge over me. That was before cell phones. Okay, I got to get going. Check out the link above. You'll get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course for toddlers now. It just came out today. You can get the mini courses on their own, but if you want to get the big course for toddlers, I throw all the mini courses in with it. It's just a bonus that I throw in. And then you can look into the other original boot camp course, which is 3 to 12 years old. Now they're quite different the way they're laid out. The toddler course is more about reference because you can't plan out things with toddlers. You can't manage toddlers. You're more reacting to new things that they come up with when they come up with them. So it's more like a reference material, but I do suggest you go through the whole thing and read it. You'll have a better understanding of toddlers if you do. They're cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. So, but with the original toddler course, it is 5 weeks to get respect. It's all laid out. It's a plan, right? You're managing yourself basically as a leader. And then you can look into coaching. Anyway, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me, and check out the new course. I'm very excited about it. It just came out today. So that's the toddler one. Anyway, thanks so much, and we'll talk again soon. Bye now.